Welcome everyone. Today we're celebrating together three incredible voices from the world of art, design, numismatics, each with a unique perspective on what it means to create something timeless, something that carries meaning in metal. Joining us today, we got John Mercanti, the legendary former chief engraver of the United States, a man whose artistry has touched billions of coins, and to our customers watching, thousands of personal collections of some of our customers that are watching today, and collectors around the world. We also have Beth Zaiken, a fine artist known for her breathtaking large-scale paintings, murals that bring history, nature to life, magazines and museums and zoos across the world. Also, one of her talents is the 100 greatest coin. On the cover, she just got the 100 greatest coin and Coin of the Year award winner for the most beautiful design. It's an honor to have her with us as well. And lastly, we have David Ryder, former director of the Mint, an icon in this space, a major innovation, the man that was able to do multiple things from the U.S. Mint, getting the Morgan silver dollar back. That was his part of organizing that leadership. A lot of our customers also know the new image of the Type 2 Silver Eagle. David Ryder was also a big part of getting that off the ground. We could go on and on of some of the leadership that David has been able to do from the Mint. But I just want to thank you guys all for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a special conversation. But I want to start with John. Let's start with legacy, right? You spent more than 40 years, being a chief engraver at the U.S. Mint. What stands out for you the most as an artist of your 40 years at the U.S. Mint?
Well, I had the privilege of working with some of the best or the greatest numismatic artists of the time. Unfortunately, the way the system was set up at that particular period of time, they didn't get to do a lot of work. I mean, the chief engraver up until Frank Gasparo, Gilroy Roberts, John Sinnock, Barber, they would do the majority of the work. And if you were lucky, you were given a reverse to do. But that was just the system. That was just the way it was operated. These 5 or 6 gentlemen that I work with, actually, that's how I learned. That's how I developed my skills in numismatics. And I had the privilege of working with them for many years. And that was very special.
Hmm. Well, I think the question a lot of people have for John is, what was the moment you realized your work was becoming something larger than yourself?
No, you never think like that. You go from job to job and you focus on that particular job and how to get that message across on the coin. But you never look ahead to whether you're going to get Coin of the Year or something like that. I got a couple Coin of the Years, but never expected them.
What was the biggest surprise that you had?
It was actually somebody else's coin that I was art directing. It was the Little Rock coin. The artist had submitted the drawing, and he was showing a little girl, a couple little girls, and a soldier. The soldier was leaning against the wall, and I said to him, "No, let's attack this from another angle." I said, "Let's just show her legs, just show her legs from the knee down, and just show his legs from the knee down, the shoulder with his boots." And it got Coin of the Year. So he was thrilled. He called me, "Johnny, I got Coin of the Year." He said, "You helped me get Coin of the Year." I said, "No. I said, "You did it." I said, "You're on the path." I said, "But you did it." So I was pretty proud of him, and I was pretty proud that we got Coin of the Year for that.
Well, I feel like that's a common thing with John. He's very humble. He doesn't like to take credit for a lot of the things that he's going to have legacies for, thousands of years. But I feel like that a lot of our customers do want to know what a coin or project do you feel represents you and your artistic ability? Like what coin that they might be able to look back and see that can kind of help some of our customers?
Well, one of the hardest coins to produce was the Liberty coin, the Statue of Liberty in 1986.
86, yeah.
Modeling that statue was a killer because of all the folds. I was working from a series of photos, and one of the photos was from her head down to her feet. And you look down, and I had worked on the model, and then I looked, and she has chains. She's breaking chains. And I said, oh my God, I said, I got to model the chains in. So if you look on the model of the coin, you'll see chains, broken chains around her feet.
So there's a lot of symbolism on coins that, you know, us as people that are collecting, we don't even understand or even pick up on sometimes.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. You once said coin design is about like storytelling in miniature, right? And I know you collect some miniature things as well too, right?
Yeah.
What story are you most proud to tell? Like, what is a story that you can think back on that you're proud to tell?
Yeah, there's so many stories.
The '84 Olympic coin.
Well,
right?
the '84 Olympic coin, yeah, that was one.
'97 Platinum Eagle. I mean, these are some of the things that our collectors are looking for today. Some of the coins that some people don't even understand. Like, you were the creation of that. Everybody thinks about Silver Eagles with you, right? Because everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But you were a part of a lot more.
You know,
than
it's
that.
funny. The Silver Eagle, we were doing, that was part of the program with the Silver Eagle and the Statue of Liberty were part of the same. There was part of the same law that was written, wasn't it?
Part of the commemorative coin.
So we were doing multiple designs at the same time, and when I was working on the Statue of Liberty, and then I was working on the drawing for the Silver Eagle. Now, when I originally did the Silver Eagle, I had him turned to the left or to the right, and it was kind of like an angled shot of it. So I went to Washington, and they came back to me and said, do a frontal view, spread that eagle out. And then, you know, I didn't want to do it at first, but I said, well, that's the way they want it. So I did it, and they picked it. But you know, I never thought in my wildest imagination it would be such a coin that people would want, or that they would use as a collecting base. You know, it just never thought about it. I mean, we just worked from job to job, and did what was necessary to produce that particular coin, or that particular design.
And the Statue of Liberty coin program, which is the first commemorative coin program the Mint did after the statue was implemented to have commemorative coins back in 1986, that coin raised over $100 million for the United States government.
And you probably don't think about that even when you're doing that.
No, I didn't get a cent of that. I don't know what happened.
Well, you've helped the U.S. Mint more than you probably could imagine. But it's interesting to hear that from, because, you know, we just see your art and your work, and we don't get to see the man behind the curtain, I guess, is that they would say.
Yeah.
And what I've learned, and I think a lot of us have learned about you, is that you're very humble and that you care about other people. And speaking of other people, we have Beth Zaiken here. What advice do you have for new people coming in to this space from an artistic, you know, ability? What are some of your thoughts on artists coming into this space?
Well, one of the things they don't teach you in art school is that art is a business. You know, you have grand designs when you're in art school. You want to do a ceiling like Michelangelo or something, but
Sure.
If you're not paid to do that ceiling, you know, you have to develop the skills to do multiple different things. Like Beth does multiple things, and that's why she's a success. You know, she can do anything. But if you're
thanks, John.
no, seriously, you have to be trained in the technology today too. It's not just a paintbrush and paints. It's computer savvy. If you're not computer savvy, if you're not into the new technology, you may not survive.
So you had some probably challenges going through there from
Oh,
your
we
time
had a lot
frame.
of challenges when we did the transition into the new technology. Oh, some of the staff went crazy. You know, I can't do that. Especially the older guys like me. You know, we can't do that. But we learned. It took a while, but we learned. But the funny thing is that when I was out of work 6 months, I forgot everything because I wasn't working on the computer anymore. So So,
But you have to allow that creative energy to take place.
Art is a passion. It's your passion. But if you desire to make money through that passion, educate yourself. Learn everything that there is to learn about what you do and other things too. Other types of art.
And you were doing this earlier on, right? When you first got your first job at the Mint, right?
Oh yeah, I was an illustrator for years. I worked for the military, and I did a lot of military illustration, airbrush drawing, working on airfields for Vietnam and that kind of stuff. And I did a lot of that for years. And when I got the job at the Mint, I tell everybody I had no right to apply for that job because I had never worked in clay. I took a trip up to the Mint with my son and my wife, and I saw the models and stuff, and I said, "Oh my God, what did I do?"
Well, and I feel like a lot of our customers think you're this prodigy that you always had it.
No, there's no prodigy. I mean, it's a lot of hard work. I mean, but the thing is that the Franklin Mint was starting at that point.
Sure.
And there were very few, if any, coin designers, and they had to hire illustrators and teach them. And if you draw well, if your skills at drawing are acceptable and good, and you do a quality drawing, you can make that transition into clay, because it's a lot of subtle planes. It's almost like drawing. It's like subtle planes. I specialize in real low relief. I really developed my style. I could do coin design, but the Roberts did a lot of metal design, and Gasparo did a lot of metal designs. We didn't do a lot of metals for some reason, and if we did get metals, they would be done by Gasparo. So we focused on other elements. We focused on coin.
And so you literally had to learn a lot of these skill sets. You weren't born and you weren't sitting in your kitchen as a kid doing
There's
these
no
types of
Beethovens
things.
here. No, sir. There's a lot of hard work.
Well, we could talk to John, for hours about your legacy. But Dave, what was it like working with John at the Mint?
Oh, I could tell all sorts of stories.
Somebody
but I'll focus on one. When I was the Mint director back in the 90s, early 90s, I was 36 years old. I didn't know very much about coins. Secretary Brady and President Bush nominated me for that position, and I became the Mint director. And I had a lot to learn. And I remember, I'm a very inquisitive person. I like to ask questions. But I would go to Philadelphia, and I met this guy. His artistic booth was right next to the window, and I was first introduced to John Mercanti, who wasn't the chief engraver at that time. He was working with all the other artists and developing all sorts of very interesting things. And I remember going over to John. I would lean over his shoulder and he'd say, "John, what's that? How do you do that? What's this?" And I could probably sense that John was probably going, "Who is this guy? He's the director of the United States Mint, and he's asking me those questions."
No. He was a great guy. From the get-go, he was a great guy.
But John has this knack of, and it's an ability to treat people good, to treat his artists good. We speak about getting new artists in the industry.
The best.
John was responsible for any number of artists that worked at the U.S. Mint. Phoebe Hemphill, for example. And he wanted to get new people and women and different people involved, and it was kind of a male thing.
It was an old man's club.
It was an old man's club. And John changed all that. And he was able to very creatively use that talent, and it only made the Mint better.
Phoebe is, she's the Laura Gardner Fraser of this century. She's absolutely the best sculptor I know.
And you saw that earlier on when.
Oh, I hired her away from the toy company she was working for, and she said it was a sweatshop. They were sitting at a table. They didn't even have cubicles. They sat at the table and worked, and there was a lot of pressure. In fact, she was sick, and her mother drove her, so I took them both out to lunch. and hired Phoebe right on the spot. I loved her.
Well, it sounds like it was a good decision
She's a
for her.
great
too.
Phoebe
lady.
sits in a little cubicle by herself, and it's a long cubicle, and all of her work is there. And you go in there, and you look at what she's doing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. And
She
she
could do
is
anything.
the most, talking about a humble person.
Yeah, she could do
She just knuckles down, does her job, and does a great job.
Well, talking about amazing, I mean, we see a book right here. I don't know if you guys can see this. It just got voted the most 100 greatest coin book. Got the cover coin, and we're sitting next to the artist. So legendary, all these adjectives that we're using. This we have to communicate about Beth Zaiken on this. Dave, what are your thoughts on her after seeing her young career so far blossom?
He's had a lot to do with it, I think.
I didn't know Beth before. What had happened, April Stafford, who at the time was running the creative division for the U.S. Mint, I started asking questions about the Artist Infusion program. And the Artist Infusion program is a method in which we find new artists. And hundreds of artists submit their resumes for consideration to be selected. And Beth was one of those young up-and-coming artists that was selected. And I tried to stay out of the process. I'm no expert in it, but I wanted it to succeed and to pick the best artists. And then one day, I was told about the Liberty program, and that the Liberty program, from which this coin is honored on, happens every 2 years. And the staff told me one day in a meeting that we had to select the new art for the up-and-coming Liberty program. And I sat in the boardroom, in the Mint's big conference room, and I started asking questions. And I was the type of person that challenged a lot of people. And I was also the type of person that didn't really adhere to the status quo. And there's a lot of artists and people in this industry who have great knowledge about the history of the United States Mint, and that's very important. But I posed the question, I said, why does the Liberty coin have to have Lady Liberty on it? And everybody looked at me like, well, that's because that's what we do. And I said, well, liberty to many people comes in many different forms. It could be a starburst on the 4th of July. It could be anything that someone who comes to this country for the first time. The United States it's about liberty. It's about freedom. It's about inclusion. It's a great country. And I said, well, let's figure out a way to develop that. And so I posed this question. I said, April, I said, I'd like the artists to come up with their, not mine, and not hers, and not the Mint's, but their rendition of what liberty means to them. And as the director of the Mint, I had a fun opportunity to review all the artwork beforehand, and there were beautiful designs. And I'm thumbing through the hundreds of different artist renderings, and I flipped this page, and boom, here's this coin.
No kidding.
Staring me right in the face, and I went, wow, that's really amazing. And yet I had to be above board where I couldn't really let people know my preference. But I stopped at that page and I said, that's the coin right there. But the interesting part about this coin is when I looked at it, having grown up in Montana and Idaho, I was familiar with horses and ranches and farming and all that stuff. And the first thing I said, the one thing that bothers me about this coin is it's a wild horse, obviously, a Mustang, and it's showing off its saddle. And to me, that horse is being broken of his liberty. A horse is meant to run free. A horse is meant to do, beautiful things, but not to be tossed a saddle over it and break him of what I would call his liberty, his sense of freedom. And as the process went on, I wanted that I wanted the answer to that question. So I said, I'll just call Beth and ask what it means. And what really the meaning is that the horse is throwing off the yoke of British rule. And I went, aha. And I said,
Unreal.
and I
Makes
asked her a
sense.
number of other questions.
Or any kind of oppression. You know, that's the founding of our country. Like, we're all about bucking authority and, you know,
There you go.
maintaining our freedom and our spirit, and the idea of like a domesticated or an animal throwing off the trappings of domestication and rejecting that. It's like quintessentially American.
It's the most important thing. And when I realized that's what the purpose of the coin was, the coin got selected to go to the Citizen Coin Advisory Committee and the Commission of Fine Arts for final approval. And overwhelmingly, everybody wanted that coin. Out of all the designs, that coin, everybody, when they first saw it and heard the story of what Beth did to create it, it was selected.
Unreal. And Beth, I mean, we're talking about you right now, and I feel like one of our most requested coins that we get from our company, and we get to see it, was this coin. And I don't,
Really? Okay.
As of right now, it's just like iconic. It's just because now people are starting to understand the symbolism of this. When it first came out, even me as a collector, I didn't understand the symbolism either. And I think coins tell stories. And after hearing all these things from David and John, you have art galleries and things that are filled with walls and museums, and you have to tell stories in large spaces, right? Coming into this coin space, right, having to create something on a small surface area that can fit in your palm of your hands. What were some of your struggles with having to go in from one space to this space?
You know, I think I really was excited for the challenge of it, because I have worked on like some of the biggest canvases possible, like 80 feet by 14 feet tall murals that have to tell like the story of life on Earth, or like, you know, these big stories. But the process is the same, to like consider what the important parts of the narrative are and then distill it down to where it's easy for someone to look at and understand. And for the coin, it's just taking that process and like refining it even more. Like, I have to like hone that blade of the skill down to where you can take a look at such a tiny canvas and still get the message and the story behind it.
When you're talking about these types of things, I know some of our customers might not know. What are some of the things that you do outside of the coin space, so maybe they would understand a little bit more what you did prior to the coin space?
One of the interesting things about the AIP is that you guys have gone to every corner of the artistic industry in the country. And I come from a very weird little niche where I've spent the last 18 years designing and building museum exhibits. And I specialize in natural history, but we've done, you know, historical centers and landmarks and things like that too. So my background is very much in like telling educational stories to the public. But I, in particular, paint, you know, giant landscape murals and you know, natural history murals. So I illustrate dinosaurs. I'm pretty well known as a paleo artist, actually, outside of the coin world.
So getting into a small space, that going from a dinosaur to a coin, that's polar opposites, I would imagine, from a space perspective.
Beth just showed me out in the lobby a new mural that she just did on her little iPhone, and it's absolutely stunning. And you know, between these two people,
Tell me about it. Yeah.
No, you know, as an art director,
incredible.
that's a perfect design.
You guys hear that?
Aw.
It's a perfect design.
That's the
Thank you, John.
That is the perfect design. I mean, Beth and I were discussing the symbolism of coinage and how one particular element should be all you need, and man, she nailed it there. I mean, I won't go any further to make that coin.
And Matt, I can tell you this, I've seen all of John's work, thousands of pieces. I've gone through every piece of his that's in his portfolio. And there's hundreds of coins of the years that are sitting in his portfolio, just like Beth's coin. Mm-hmm. And at some point, Beth is going to be one of the artists that is going to be, people are going to talk about Beth the way they talk about John, as very fabulous artists that have done so many things, and both of them have an eye to make sure that what they're doing meets the objective, the design objective.
it impacts
do
so
it
many
very
people.
well.
Yeah.
It impacts, it excites collectors, it excites people that don't even know that they have the artistic ability to go try doing something like, obviously, even just coloring, just from a small perspective. But the symbolism is clearly there. I want to talk to you for a second, John. How do you merge the sculpture relief and into a design that's something cohesive? Like,
How do I model it?
how do you model it, I guess, is the layman terms?
Yeah, well, today in the Mint, it's all done on computer.
Okay.
There are programs that they use, multiple programs, and they're hard to learn, some of these programs. I being the old school, I like to model in clay. I like the tactile feeling, and I like the smell of clay. I like working in clay. And it used to be that we would have to model on a plaster basin that we had made by hand, because you had to calculate how deep the basin was. The basin is the concave curve of the coin. And now all I have to do is model on a piece of glass. Because once it goes into virtual reality, they can take that and adjust it to a basin. They can make a basin in virtual reality far better than we can do by hand. But for years, we had to do it by hand.
And that takes time, obviously.
Oh, it may take a week. I would spend weeks. Mr. Gasparo would make me make basins. That's what I did. I made basins.
That wasn't your most fun part about the
It
job.
wasn't the most fun. Taking a piece of glass and putting the drawing under the glass and then beginning modeling. That's what I do. Then I turn that, and then I cast it ultimately down the road. I'll finish it, make a negative plaster, work on the negative plaster, then make a positive plaster, and send it to GOVMINT, and they'll send it to whoever's going to make the tool. That's the process.
So the time frame from start to finish on something,
It varies. It depends on the complexity of the design.
Okay.
It really does. Some designs, flow real easy. Others, it's back and forth, making up different kinds of models to work in the positive and the negative. Sometimes you work in the negative to refine. Sometimes you work in the positive to refine.
A couple months ago, the head of the Monnaie de Paris, Mark Schwartz, and his team were in the States, and we were talking to them about John Mercanti and doing programs with John. And John does a lot of programs with foreign mints around the world. Mm-hmm. But in this particular case, they sat down and they asked John and said, "Have you ever done a Rooster?" And John, for the most part, out of his illustrious career, had never sculpted a rooster. And John piped up, and to everybody's surprise, John has always wanted to sculpt a rooster.
Really?
Which is the French symbol. And John had that rooster sculpted and done within a week.
So that was a faster one,
It was
obviously.
a faster one, yeah.
And it's going to be on a coin with the Monnaie de Paris, and it's absolutely stunning.
We had a sculptor working with us one time, Tom Rogers, a guy from out west, and really a great sculptor. But he would never use clay. He would sculpt in the negative. He would take a negative plaster, which means that the basin was high. He'd transport the drawing onto that and begin cutting in the plaster. He literally
insane.
would cut a negative model. And for the life of me, I'd stand there and watch him. I'd say, "How the hell do you do that?" I couldn't imagine. I said, "How do you think in the negative like that?" He said, "That's the way I learned." And the plaster would be flying, and he'd be cutting, and then he'd take and make a model. He'd have a perfect model. I don't know how they did it.
It's quite remarkable how people.
Every artist has their own
There's the thing.
way they attack it.
Yeah.
Every artist attacks it differently.
And there's no time frame. It's just what you get in that flow.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Beth
flow
has
is
her
different.
way of, doing her thing, and I have my way of doing it.
It's fascinating to hear all you guys describe this, right? It's like it's like a dance between precision and like poetry. Behind every piece, there's a story behind these coins, right? And I feel like you guys are describing these stories right now. And these are stories that are going to be held on for generations, like I think you've talked about before. These coins will be around for thousands of years, like the ancient coins, right? But on this topic, John, when you look at artists like Beth, do you feel like your legacy is continuing in new directions? Do you feel like your legacy is carrying on with the future generations of artists out there?
You know, I'm part of a hobby. That's all. I'm just part of the hobby. I don't look at myself as having, you know, this legacy. If anybody outside the industry doesn't know who I am, you know, but I've had the privilege of working with some great people, and that's my legacy. That's it. I don't look for fame and fortune.
John is being very humble.
We
No,
know.
no, seriously.
I
It's-
can
it's-
tell you
Yeah.
that I've been to mints all over the world, and I've talked to directors of mints and chief engravers of mints, and I've seen a lot of different things globally. John is the best of the best.
No, they never called me.
Well, speaking of this, Dave, hey, we're talking about all this new technology and stuff. You had to go through it. What's the new technology that you guys had to adapt with from the U.S. Mint? I mean, he kind of talked about it.
Well, it's the same. Are you working with? You're working with these programs, aren't you?
I'm almost native with it. I
Yeah,
kind of lived through that,
yeah,
but I haven't lived
she
through
could probably
anything
tell
like
you
what
better
you
than
guys
I
would have
can,
experienced.
You know, because we used to work with Photoshop and Illustrator,
Oh, crazy.
and let me tell you, they were tough to learn, especially
Yeah.
for old guys like me. The brain's not all there. I had some of my staff would absolutely not go near it. They wouldn't. No, I'm modeling by hand. If you want to fire me, fire me. I said, no, you model by hand.
For you, Beth, I mean, are things that you're still learning in the new technology space, that some things that are surprising you that you didn't think about a couple years ago?
I think for me, the surprises are more on the production side. I mean, my job, I do a 2D design, you know, and the best I can do is kind of like render out what I think the bas relief should look like, you know, but then I hand it off to the artists that do the production. But the capabilities that they have on the production side, like the level of resolution and detail and like little tiny details they can get on these things is wild. And so some of the asks are new, like to try to utilize some of the new technology.
When we think of privy marks on silver eagles, you know, I think of one that you are part of, and I think a lot of our customers might not know a little bit about one of the integral privy marks that you happen to be a part of at the U.S. Mint, if you want to enlighten some of our customers.
That was an interesting program. It's Congressman Scalise from Louisiana was trying to get legislation done for the Victory 75, the end of World War II, and they were having trouble, believe it or not, getting the votes. In a commemorative coin legislation, you have to have it voted in by Congress. And we were running out of time because the celebration, the birthday was coming up, 75th anniversary. And I said, what are we going to do? The Mint has to do something. Both of my parents are World War II Navy veterans. My father was a pilot. My mother was a Navy nurse. They met in a hospital where she was taking care of Dad, had been injured during the war. And I said, we have to do something for these veterans. They're dying at such a fast rate. I said, it'd be a shame for the U.S. Mint not to honor them. And so because of the legislation and not being passed, we had to come up with another solution. And a privy mark had never been done before in the United States Mint. It had never been done. So I started talking to the staff and specifically to the lawyers to figure out how we could put a privy mark on the American Silver Eagle, John's Silver Eagle.
Yeah.
And everybody said it couldn't be done. And being the pain in the neck that I was, I said, there's got to be a way to get it done. I said, John, go find a way to get this done. Because you weren't supposed to change something on U.S. coinage. It's against the rules, against the law. And John found a way. And we were trying to figure out what the privy mark should be. And we came up with a number of things, and the Artist Infusion program came up with enough artwork, and it's very small. The privy mark is very small on a coin. And I just didn't like any of them. And so one day I used to ride my bike back and forth from my home to work every day. And I would go down the mall from Lincoln Memorial towards the Washington Monument and then up by the Capitol and then back down to the office. And this particular day, I was riding by the World War II memorial that Senator Bob Dole was very integral in getting done. And it sits right at the foot of the reflecting pool looking up at the Lincoln Memorial. And I got off my bike and I said to myself, there's the Privy Mark. And it was the reflecting pool of the World War II memorial, which was the centerpiece. And I took my cell phone, I took a couple pictures, and I said, this is it. Well, not so fast, Dave. You had to get legal approval. It was owned by the Park Service. And we finally got all the official approvals. And that's where the V75, if you look at the Privy Mark, it is an exact replica of the reflecting pool in the World War II memorial. That Bob Dole's image, the work that he did to get that done was incredible. That's how that Privy Mark became what it was. And it was the first time that we ever used a Privy Mark. And now the U.S. Mint is doing a lot of coins with Privy Marks.
Privy marks. Yeah. It's sad that, you know, you run into some people that immediately say it can't be done, just because it's been done a certain way for so many years. I ran into that when we did we transitioned into that new technology and put the mint mark directly on the model. We used to do the mint mark by hand, and it took a whole morning to do it. Maybe if you had enough mint mark dies, it might take a whole day. So that was time wasted. So one day I said to my computer engineer, I said, I'd like you to try to put the mint mark on the coin, right directly on the model. And my project manager walked away. He said, you can't do that. I said, why? Why can't you do it? It's never been done before. I said, and he walks out of my office. He was crazy. I had the tool made. I went directly to him. I said, okay, find something wrong with it. And he looked at it and I can't find anything wrong. I said, no, that's the way we're going to do it from now on. And we just eliminated all that handwork that took forever. So
Well, it's like technology.
you run into that, you know, when you work. You know, oh, we can't do things like, no.
When you ran into that with the Morgan Silver Dollar program, or getting David was a part of getting the design of the new design of the Silver Eagle, the one that you started, and he was a part of helping it change. So there's got to be a lot of red tape, I would imagine, going from things that haven't been done in quite some time from the U.S.
You had to get legislation done. Again, it was a program that required legislation, so we endeavored to get the legislation done. But the biggest thing that concerned me after we got the legislation done, it was in quite a time frame to get something through Congress. Is not a small task, even for a U.S. coin. It takes a lot of work. And Congressman Amadei from Nevada was the guy who stepped up to the plate and got it done. And it was the difficult part for me wasn't so much the legislation, it wasn't so much the design, it wasn't so much of setting the engravers and whatnot to resculpt Morgan and the obverse and reverse. For me, it was calling John, an old friend, and asking the question before I even started the program. Because John's iconic heraldic eagle on the back of the Silver Eagle is the most iconic design of all time. It's sold 600-700 million versions of it over the years, maybe more. But I needed to get John's approval just for me, because John and I were close friends. And so I called him one day and I said, John, I told him what I was doing. And I said, before I say yes to put the machine in motion to get this done, I want to ask you your permission. And I wasn't telling him.
No.
I called him up and I said,
He's asking me.
I need to know that you're okay with this. And I gave him all the reasons and so on and so forth. And without hesitation, he said to me, and this is exactly what he said to me. He said, Dave, I think it's a wonderful idea. I want to make sure that another artist has the same opportunity that I had when I started out. And we talked more about it. And with that, I felt good to go. I still feel a little guilty that I got rid of this design, but after 40 years, the legislation allows you to do that.
It was time.
Yeah.
Without going through the rigmarole of Congress. It's the secretaries had the ability to say yes or no, and he said yes.
It was time.
Was it hard to see it go? Your baby? It was about
because
time. growing up.
I knew somebody else would, step in my shoes, and they would have this new coin would have the same success that I had with mine, and that was thrilling. But I warned them. I said, we had gone to West Point, and we called up the two artists. And I said, expect that some people will like it and some people won't. You may get criticism. I said, but don't take it personally. I said, in art, there are people that like and don't like, and they make themselves known, and you just got to let it roll off your back. But they've been very successful with that coin.
Well, you've always been humble. That's what I admire about you, John, and obviously.
Yeah, I should have been a priest.
Beth, I know. What do you think about modern collectors are looking for? I know we talk about collectors and people are coming to the market for the first time, but what do you think modern collectors are looking for that you've kind of seen? Because you hit a home run with obviously, your Coin of the Year award winner. What type of things when you're putting something together that you think customers or collectors are looking for?
Well, I think that there's different things that appeal to different people. You can have just a simply beautiful design, and it doesn't need to be any deeper than that. And then you can have something that has a whole story and a history that connects to people's backgrounds or their families, that speaks to them on like a deeper level. But ultimately, why would they have to choose? Like, you should have a beautiful design that also tells a story that people can connect to, and shows off the quality of the metal, and should be something that's like a precious heirloom. That's what people are looking for, something that lasts.
And speaking of something that lasts, because this will be on the cover of the book forever, what does that mean to you? Like when you see your coin on a book like this, I mean, what are some of your thoughts, your emotions that come through? Because a lot of us would never have accomplishments of something like that.
She was very surprised, I can tell you.
I was really surprised, really surprised. That design, when I joined the EIP, that was my first design that I ever did. My first coin I ever even thought of doing.
Never done it.
Hit a home run.
Never
on the
done
first
a
one.
coin before. And David had put a really beautiful prompt together. Like the prompt that we got from them was like, your personal idea of what liberty is. What does liberty mean to you? And, for me, that coin just popped into my head. It was the first thing I thought of when I read the prompt. It was the only idea that I had, and I just executed it in like 2 days. And I was like, this says everything that I want to say about the idea of American liberty. It talks to, the spirit, the power, the strength in the American people, and it uses a symbol that I think is perfect, from an identity standpoint for all of us, and it's universal. So I thought, if I only ever get the chance to design one coin my whole life, this is the coin I want to design, and it was always going to be that coin.
John and Beth were out in the lobby, and John turned to Beth without prompting or anything. John just said, "Beth, that coin is one of the most beautiful coins, and the artistic work and the sculpting and how it looks is spot on. And for a guy like John to say something to a new artist like Beth, it means the world."
Some designs are like she said, they just flow right out of you. I mean, other ones you struggle.
Well, can you give our customers an example of a magic moment for you?
Well, the Statue of Liberty coin was the magic moment for me. But
Yeah.
you flip the paper and put a new piece of paper down and try another design.
Yep.
Beth knows. I mean, and others, they go right out. I've had some of my staff come in and say, "Hey, John, I was sleeping last night and I was thinking about this program, and the design came to me real quick." Depends. You can get it in the shower. You could be in you take it home with you. You live with it.
How do you guys balance all of that, though? How are you like
You're always thinking about it.
But you also have to communicate it to the public as well, too.
Well, yeah. I mean,
And to be able to have
you're looking for the perfect design.
It's 90% thought, 10%
Yeah.
drawing.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So putting it pen to the paper and just doing it, ultimately. I know I get calls all the time. Everybody's curious of what you guys are doing. And obviously you guys done so many great things. We've talked about a couple of them, but is there any sneak peeks that maybe you can enlighten maybe some of our customers? There's something you might be working on or anything that you have on the top of your head?
I'll be doing some more eagles for Perth, I'm sure, and working right now with South Africa, the French. The French coin, the Rooster, should be coming out in the spring. So there's some things in the fire right now.
And you've never done a Rooster before, is that correct that we
You
found
know,
that
I
out?
don't know why. I got a stack of Rooster material home this high. I never thought to do a Rooster, but I will now.
Well, it's like the Wedge-Tailed Eagle. You never thought the Wedge-Tailed, and I find this fascinating. You never thought the Wedge-Tailed Eagle program.
In fact, somebody approached me the other day and said, don't you think it's about time that that program ended? I said, ended? I said, why would you end a successful program? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, people want more eagles in Australia, we'll give them more eagles. I mean, I'm sure.
Well, it's the anticipation of the new design as well, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we wrap up, I want to ask each one of you guys a closing thought, and I want to start with you, David, okay? What does it mean to create something, whether it's art or policy in your case, that endures? I mean, we talked a little bit about your Morgan and your Eagle, but what does it mean to you that this stuff's going to be around for, 100 years?
Well, when I was the Mint director the first time in the mid-90s, there was a collector base of 2.7 million active coin collectors in this country. John lived through that, and the collecting base back then was incredible. It's absolutely incredible. When I came back the second time, one of the first questions I asked was, what's our collector base? And it shrunk to under 400 or 420,000, give or take. And that really surprised me. And to go down that steeply in that period of time, 25 years or so, alarmed me. So from a person who had the responsibility to grow the Mint and grow the hobby, I wanted kids to be involved. You have to have kids involved to create a legacy, and all this artwork, all these things that I tried to do was to try to grow the hobby. And it's important that whoever's the head of the Mint, I think, has an absolutely spectacular opportunity to carry on this mantle of trying to get collectors around the world, but specifically young kids, and develop programs that help this industry, because it's rich in history.
Well, speaking of talent and passing the torch on, I mean, we're sitting next to talent, and in putting thought into that question, Beth, what are your thoughts about like this legacy of this art, this journey that you have? I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
I am tremendously lucky to have this sort of like innate skill set, a talent that I've worked really hard to develop. Mm-hmm. And so having the opportunity to do what I love, something that I'm good at the highest level, and to do it for my country, to produce like our history and legacy in metal, the things that will last that long, that's the greatest thing in the world. Like, yeah. It doesn't get better than that. So I just feel tremendously lucky to be part of it.
Yeah, you have like a scrapbook for your future generations that look at what she did. Right?
I got to contribute. You know, I'm here. I'm contributing something to posterity, to these people that I love, the country that I love. Doesn't get better than that.
Before some of our final words, I mean, I know, John, we celebrate your collaboration with here at GOVMINT. What are some of your thoughts as we celebrate your collaboration here with GOVMINT right now?
Well, I feel like I'm part of the greatest team in the world, really. You guys have been incredible. I mean, I've worked on the fringe of the company for the last 10 years, but now that I've cemented my relationship with it, I feel like I'm at home. And I always said, you have an art gallery in your pocket. All you got to do is reach in and look at it. And I hope people understand that. And I've been very privileged in my career, and I'm at the end of my career, literally. But I'm with some great people. I really love being here. I really do.
And we're blessed to be a part of how humble he is, and I feel like that we get to celebrate. We get to continue to celebrate. Like you have a birthday party every
Yeah.
time you're around.
Yeah.
So we're not saying goodbye. We're saying hello every time you come by.
It's like a party every time we come, but you learn something new too every time we come. I learn something new about the industry. I know what's involved in your end of the industry, and that's the thing that I like the most about it. Yeah, I really do, because it's an education. It's an education.
And it's exciting.
It's not just an artist doing the artwork. It's all the whole team behind us that's selling the product, and that's important. And government is the place to be.
Some of these things that they were able to share, I know I truly appreciate it, guys. And I and Matt Kinsley at GOVMINT are just proud to share this conversation with you guys and continue to celebrate artists who shape our shared history one coin at a time.